accept that everything that begins with exist has a cause?
I do not know.
Okay.
I cannot.
Now let me ask you another question, because we're still on premise one.
Yeah.
My question is, if do you know of anything that popped into existence without having a cause?
The universe can be said to have. It can be said. It's not
No,
definite.
but it's not definite. You can't use it as evidence.
Yeah,
I'm asking
exactly.
you
Which is why I
evidence
have
of
my
things, so
doubts.
things definitely that have come into existence without a cause. Do you know of anything, any such example?
I think that human beings are looking for causes, and that we are built as human beings in order to look for patterns, in order to look for causal links.
You might be right.
Correct?
You might be right.
Yeah.
It doesn't negate the fact that you're absolutely right. Actually,
Yeah.
Actually, you could say that goes into another argument, which is the fitra argument. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created us with such a propensity that we can actually identify patterns.
Yeah, exactly. And we're the only species on Earth
So
that can do that.
my question to you is, everything that begins with just has a cause. Okay. So I'm saying, is there any contradiction to? Is there anything that you think sounds right? Is there anything that you know that contradicts that?
لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد.
Anything that begins to exist.
Begins to exist. Okay, you got me there. Oh, yeah. No, like I said before, I cannot answer that because I am a mere human being.
Yeah. So we can move on to the second thing. The universe begins to exist.
You don't know.
You don't know if it began
No,
to exist.
because it could be infinite. There are theories to say that the universe can be infinite.
Static state theory that existed some 100 years ago and now is outdated by every physicist and cosmologist.
Yeah. Okay.
That one.
Yeah.
Okay, but that's contradicted by the evidence.
Sure. Yeah. I'm just saying that we can't actually confirm the beginning of the universe.
Okay, so you can't confirm it because it's not empirical.
Yeah.
Okay, so in that
So
case,
we require empiricism in order to prove both what the Quran says and what scientists may say.
okay, it's a fair argument. So you're saying that the second premise here, the universe began to exist, you can't prove or disprove. That's what you're saying. Yes? Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's absolutely fair. That makes perfect sense. Now we can move on to the third premise. Because the third premise is that we can say that, therefore, because that's how premises work, yeah? Therefore the universe had a cause. Yeah. So you're not objecting to the first premise and the second premise. Since you're
But I'm not entirely believing it.
Yeah, you don't need to believe it.
Yeah, exactly.
Since you don't need to. That's
I
the point.
cannot prove or disprove
Yeah,
it.
yeah. So since
Neither
you
can you.
That's not an issue because
Yeah.
the issue is not whether you can prove or disprove it. The only thing that will stop me from making a premise, the second going on to the next one, is if you can disprove it. So I'm
Yeah, but
moving
you
on.
also have to prove it.
No, look, I've said to you now, the onus is on you to disprove it. It's falsification. So you have to come and tell me why I'm wrong. I said to you, premise one.
But what if your point of view cannot even be proven in the first place?
But what I'm saying is falsification, the onus is on you now. I've made a claim. If I say to you, I said to you that everything that begins to exist has a cause.
Yeah.
Okay, so now you have to say, no, actually, there's this tree that I know that is in the desert somewhere that began to exist without a cause.
Okay.
Yeah? Okay, say, look, you know what? You made a point, you beat me, I'm finished.
Okay, sure.
Okay, now I say the second point is, the universe began to exist. You say, you know what? There is evidence here and there that the universe did not begin to exist. I say, fine, let's examine those evidences, you might be right. But since you can't provide proofs to the contrary of what I'm saying right now, so it makes sense for us to continue and say the universe had a cause.
No, for sure. I'm completely agreeing with you for us to continue on with this.
Right, so the universe had a cause.
Therefore, the universe has a cause.
Therefore.
Okay.
Okay, so what was the cause?
In your perspective, it's Allah, correct?
I'm not even saying that at the moment. I'm just saying, let's say what was it. Let's be as neutral as possible.
Okay.
Let's say what was the thing that was the cause? What kind of attributes, what kind of characteristics must it have had?
The will of God, you're saying?
Pardon?
Are you saying that it's the will of God that's...
And by the way, just because I know someone might be thinking in their mind that, some atheists, they make this kind of very silly argument. It's not you.
No, okay, sure.
But some other atheists, I've heard it being said before. Say, you can't disprove a negative. They say that, yeah? You can't disprove a negative.
Yeah.
Because we were saying that,
It's a circular argument.
Yeah, because we were saying before, didn't we just say that? Like, for example, I said that everything that begins with this has a cause. Yeah? Now, you might be thinking, okay, I said someone used to disprove that. You might be thinking, okay, but you can't disprove a negative. And so the Richard Dawkins and his likes will say, okay, what about, the unicorn? There was an example. Or Thor, you can't disprove Thor, yeah? I say to you, actually, this is incorrect. You can disprove a negative. And I'll give you I can say I don't have wings on my body. Yeah? Can anyone disprove it? I'm saying that something does not exist. You see what I mean? I can say that on the face of this earth, there is no monsters. Or there's no, I don't know, like a Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Yeah.
Something like that.
There's no Godzilla.
Yeah, okay, so I can disprove a negative. It's not inappropriate for me to say that the onus is upon you to falsify my claims. So after we've gone through these three things here, 1, 2, and 3.
Okay.
My question is, we accept that the universe has a cause. My question is what? I'm not saying who, because who dictates the personality. Let's not even say that. What is completely bias free? Yeah. What must have been the necessary attributes of that cause?
You tell me.
Okay, so I'm not going to say that he must have been loving, because that's incorrect. He must have been merciful. No, you don't need to be merciful to create a universe. He must have been the just. Not necessarily. You don't need to have any of those attributes. Except, okay, I can't prove those attributes. Admission. I can't, but I'm saying that there are some things that this entity must have had. What are these things? He must, or this entity must have had the creative capacity to be able to change the situation such that the universe will come into existence. That's the reality.
Okay,
yeah?
That's an attribute that Allah would have. Correct?
Okay, so that is knowledge. Okay, so if this thing would have knowledge and power, because you need power to change the situation, you need to be able to change the situation. So we talked about knowledge and power. And he must have existed, or this entity must have existed, yeah, before anything else.
Sure.
So he must have been the first.
لم يلد ولم يولد.
Yeah, so
therefore
so it couldn't have, but if you say there was something before the universe, something before that, then we're going to an infinite regress.
Sure.
So you'd never get to the point where we are now. So I'm saying to you now,
and in order to combat that, you need an infinitely existing God.
Yeah, right? And I'm saying, look, I didn't say the word God. I don't know.
Infinitely
That's the
existing
thing.
entity.
I always notice that whenever I talk about these things, that I'm bringing this evidence to an atheist, especially, say, oh, this guy's talking about God. I didn't even mention the word God.
I know. I misphrased that. I apologize.
Not you. But I'm saying,
apologize.
Yeah. So I'm saying this entity, this thing.
Yeah.
This thing. And by the way, a thing you can call God thing.
Yeah, sure.
Because in the hadith, it's shape. So I'm saying from even Islamic perspective, I'm saying to you that before the universe existed, we've identified 3 different attributes. So I'm saying to you now, what is, because this is a question that cannot be answered by either by science or even maths, yeah?
Nor by Muslims.
I was going to say, no, this question here, it can be answered by Muslims. I was going to ask you the question of, why did God do this?
Why did this thing?
The bias is coming out. Why did this thing? You as an ex-Muslim, I'm saying, I have the bias, yeah. So
Sure.
So every human being has a bias. Why has this thing created this?
No one knows.
Okay, so you accept that this thing created the universe.
Okay, for the sake of the argument, yes.
Okay, so why?
What could be the reason?
What's the reason for that?
It's definitely not solely for human beings, because that would be a self-centered way.
So even if it's self-centered, that's no problem. So it's self-centered. What's the problem with being self? I'm just saying, using logic here, completely stripping ourselves from all sociological bias.
Let us say human beings did not exist. Okay, let us say that this entity has created the universe without any sentient being. Let us say they were animals. Let us say we as humans existed, but we were not able to make emotional or rational decisions. That we didn't have fitrah, like you said. Yeah. What would be the reason then?
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran, because it did happen, there was a point.
Yeah, sure.
In chapter number 76, verse number 1 and 2.
Which surah?
Surah Al-Insan, yeah? هل أتى على الإنسان حين من الدهر لم يكن شيئا مذكورا؟
حين من الظهر?
Yeah, لم يكن شيئا مذكورا.
Okay.
Yeah?
Nothing was mentioned.
Yeah, he wasn't even mentioned.
And so this was part of the Jahiliyyah.
No. But there was a time Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala existed and the human being did not exist.
Sure.
Okay, so there was a time the human being existed. Allah existed. He was saying, that's why we say subhanAllah is one of the beauties of Surah Al-Fatiha. We say Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. One of the beauties of Surah Al-Fatiha. Because Alhamd is not dependent upon any human being.
Sure.
So we say Alhamd means praise and thanks be to Allah, Lord of the world.
Yeah.
We don't say Hamida, no one's doing the fi'al, no one's doing the verb. So it's not dependent upon the subject.
Someone can hamada. Yani I can be Ahmedin to
You're Ahmed.
I am Ahmed. Yeah. So exactly, it's a name.
I'm saying so it's the God.
But within Surah Al-Fatiha.
The fact there, the first verse of the Quran.
Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen.
Alhamdulillah Rabbil.
Exactly.
The first verse of the Quran tells us that all praise and thanks belongs to Allah, Lord of the worlds.
Exactly.
This hamd
is independent.
Is independent upon any variable.
Sure.
So it doesn't require the human being, it doesn't require an animal, the angels, the jinn or anything.
Yeah.
Allah deserves the praise according to us, whether anything existed or not.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. But still, if you look outside this model again, if you take away all these assumptions, then God does not need to exist in order for the universe to function, in order for the universe to have. If it does or does not have a cause.
First of all, we didn't even say God now. I mentioned that because you were asking me about a specific incident. But going back to our analogy, like,
Go ahead.
that this entity, this thing created the universe, and basically it's responsible for the creation of the universe. My question to you was why? Why? Which is a question that can't be answered by science, so I have an answer for you now.
Okay, it can be answered by philosophy if you can. Go on.
If you want to. So if God created the universe
Sure.
in his way. Everything by definition is submissive to what? So God.
Okay.
Oh, I'm saying this thing. So,
Thing.
By his definition. Okay, by its definition. By its
right.
definition.
So God created the universe. This thing created
This thing.
this thing created the universe. Yeah? This thing created the universe. By its and
You can say it, it's okay. Let the bias come out. Let the bias come out. We're having a debate, a rational debate.
That's fine. Everything in this universe submits to this thing.
God. Just say it's fine.
It submits to this thing, yeah? Now, the point is, the logical reality then, from a logical perspective, is that the purpose of everything that is created by this thing,
Yes.
the purpose of its existence is to do what? Is to submit to it.
Sure.
Okay, so we're saying that from that perspective, when God, when this thing, when this thing, because it naturally follows that this thing created this sentient creature on this planet Earth called the human being.
Okay.
It naturally follows that He created him, this human being, with a choice either to
either follow and submit,
to submit or not to submit.
Or not to submit.
Yeah.
Like I am.
So exactly.
Okay.
So what I'm saying is, does it make more coherent sense from this perspective for that thing to submit or not?
Okay, within that argument, within that analogy, of course it makes sense to submit.
Submit, yeah.
Okay, sure. But
That's the purpose of life.
yeah, okay.
That's a Muslim.
If God
Muslim is
exists,
someone who submits to
God would
Allah.
be silly giving you a choice and saying you've done a wrong thing. What do you think, sir? He's giving you a choice. You can either believe or not believe. And then why have a problem if he doesn't believe in God?
Nobody has a problem.
Exactly, but let us say that okay, a lot
You
of
give
things.
a choice,
Yeah.
a child, you say you can either do this or that, and the child does the opposite of what you don't want him to do,
Exactly.
and you get angry and say you go this, you'll go to prison, you'll go to hell, you'll do this, you'll die. So
Exactly.
many things follow.
So
what is the choice?
how would God be affected? What is the point in us being
It's silly,
put
I
on
think.
this earth in order for us to follow to something so great, so all-powerful, almighty, and follow Him? He doesn't
He's a
require us in
loving
order to
God, he's
exist.
a caring God.
Sorry.
Okay.
Please, let's let them two talk, and then after.
I like your style.
Okay.
Yeah, but I just want to hear as well his question.
It's
This-
a debate,
this
anybody
entity-
can participate.
Yeah, just after. I'll deal with you after. I'm joking. Go on.
After.
Might as well play along with the stereotype.
This entity,
Yeah,
I'll
go on.
take you after.
this entity is almighty.
Come outside.
Come on.
Come outside, I'll see you.
Yes.
He does not require anyone else in order to exist. He doesn't require any sustenance. He doesn't require
Take it easy, take it easy.
anything. Allahu Akbar, correct. Okay. However,
Take it, this is height part.
what is the point for him to put sentient beings
Not a mosque.
in the universe that he himself created?
Aha.
Yeah.
It's a good question, yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of Muslims will ask that question. Why did Allah do what He did?
Yeah.
Okay, there's two answers.
What's the point?
First of all, you know what you just mentioned there in your speech? It's actually a verse in the Quran.
Sure.
Interesting.
I know what you're talking about, but I don't
وما
remember
خلقت
exactly.
الجن والإنس إلا ليعبدون.
Surah Al-Jinn?
No, it's called Surah Al-Dariyat.
Dariyat.
Chapter 51 of the Quran,
Yeah,
I think
okay.
verse 56. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وما خلقت الجن والإنس إلا ليعبدون. We haven't created the jinn. All the
Except
ins,
to submit.
Except to submit
Yeah.
or to worship
Except
Allah.
to worship.
ما أريد منهم من رزق وما أريد أن يطعمون. So يطعمون. They said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't need any risk from them, meaning provision,
Yep.
and they don't need Him to feed them. They don't
Yeah.
feed. Why? Because
like I said.
Yeah, so Allah is Ghani, which means that He's completely free.
He is abundant.
Yeah, He don't need it. He doesn't need it.
Exactly.
So why do this? I'll tell you the reason. There's two reasons. Yeah. First of all, and this can be said because He wanted to. Can be said. Well, why not? The onus is not upon me to necessarily prove why He did something.
Okay.
The onus is upon the one who's skeptical of the decision to tell me why not. Is there an incoherence logically in the fact that He decided to do that? That's point number one. Point number two is because, subhanAllah, some of the, even the things that we have deduced logically, the fact that he's the creator, the fact that he's knowledgeable, entail that if God is the creator and he's knowledgeable, therefore it makes sense for him to create upon knowledge. Yeah, so create things on knowledge, on his knowledge, based on his knowledge. Yeah. Thus, we're saying that since God is we would say, the best of creators, his creation, it makes sense, it naturally follows for such an entity to create. Since he's the best of creations, so since he's the best of creators, so it naturally follows for such an entity to decide to create. You see what I mean?
Yeah, but
Let me give you وَلِلَّهِ الْمَثْلُ الْأَعْلَى, yeah? For God is the highest of examples. If I say to you, for example, you've got Usain Bolt around here, yeah?
Okay, let's see.
Usain Bolt, and he's naturally completely very fast. And he's very good at sprinting, so I say to you, it naturally follows that he should be competing in sports.
Yeah.
Because he's incredible at doing what he does.
Sure. But imagine he had strict
وَلِلَّهِ
parents.
الْمَثْلُ الْأَعْلَى. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has the مثل الأعلى, as it says in Surah Rum, chapter number 30 of the Quran. وَلَهُ الْمَثْلُ الْأَعْلَى فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he decides to create because he is the creator. It makes sense for such a entity to do what
it's a property of his.
It's an attribute of his.
Okay.
So it makes it complies with his. So here we're talking about. Remember we said that God has got two kinds of sifat, two kinds of attributes. You've got the sifat al-dhatiyah, al-dhatiyah or fi'aliyah. Al-dhatiyah is essence,
Correct.
and fi'aliyah what he does.
What he does.
There is a connection between those two things. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in his essence, in his fi'al, as fa'al, his things that he does things based on who he is.
Yeah, sure.
So it's impossible for Allah to do things out of character. That's why we say it's impossible for Allah to lie. Makes perfect sense, doesn't it?
Sure.
So we say it's impossible for Allah to lie because it's part of his character to be just and knowledgeable and hakim and wise. And lying is a contradiction of these qualities.
Sure.
Allah is the creator, therefore it's in compliance with such an attribute that he creates.
Yeah.
And not only creates, but he creates the best of creation. So he decided to create the universe, which we know is finely tuned, according to even atheists, the cosmologists. And
Sorry,
then
repeat that?
it's finely tuned, the universe is finely tuned. Yeah.
It's complex, yeah, but it's irrational. It's
Not according to,
unpredictable.
from a cosmological perspective, it's not the case. I've made this argument before.
But when you put quantum physics into consideration, then most things they don't make sense.
Okay, well, that's,
Yes, yeah.
Now what I'm saying is, let's deal with the properties of the universe.
Sure.
If I were to quote you now, like I've quoted this person before, Martin Rees wrote a book called Just Six Numbers.
Martin who?
Martin Rees, R-E-E-S-E. S-E, yeah?
Okay.
He wrote a book called Just Six Numbers, yeah? In that book he says that there are six properties there are six numbers that define the properties of the universe.
Okay.
And had one of them been just tilted or changed a little bit, the whole universe would not be as it is, and it would not
I
facilitate
think
human life.
I know what argument you're talking about. Yeah.
This person is Stephen Hawking makes a similar argument, or he admits to the fine-tuning of the universe in a brief history of time. Even Richard Dawkins talks about fine-tuning of the universe. There's almost consensus among the cosmologists that the universe is fine-tuned.
They don't specifically refer to that type of wording.
They do.
Not fine-tuning.
They do. Okay.
Give me a source.
Okay, we'll get them a source. Can someone get them a source whilst I'm talking? That the right fine-tuning on Google.
They do not use fine-tuning. Fine-tuning is
Fine-tuning. They use the word finely tuned.
I have to
Even
disagree.
atheists use that phraseology.
Then you only have to look at quantum physics in order to.
I'm saying quantum physics.
Finely tuned.
Say a fine-tuning universe or something like that.
The fine-tuning.
According to cosmologists, it's a band of atheists talking about the universe being finely tuned, including Richard Dawkins. I've read it himself. I've read it by word. I've seen it.
The finely tuned universe.
Richard Dawkins.
And then part Richard Dawkins.
Right, Richard Dawkins or Stephen Hawkins or Martin Rees. I don't think Martin Rees is a religious person. He mentions that he's not even. I don't think he's not an evangelist or something like that. Go on, we can find out. Inshallah. Quantum physics, by the way, they call it the paradoxes of quantum physics. Yeah.
Sure. There are many.
Yeah. That doesn't disprove.
I take it back. Yeah.
You
are
are
right. Yeah, I take it.
Sorry.
I can see.
You can see it, alhamdulillah. Okay. So that's good. We're coming to conclusions now. Because we're saying that this universe which is finely tuned. Sure. Yeah. It can be to some extent proven that the universe is in such a delicate balance that it would take an incredible knowledge. Yeah. To do this. And we're saying that knowledge is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that is a proof that his creative capacity and his knowledge come together to create things which are in his essence most plausible for him to do.
The reason why we're here today, could that not happen by chance? No.
We're saying, okay, if you say it's by chance, then you have to.
You're gonna bring up the lottery example, aren't you?
No.
I saw last week's debate.
Okay.
I hugely respect you, by the way. I came with the intention of finding you.
Okay.
I was trying.
He was looking for you. You was a wanted man.
You were having
You're a wanted man.
An English guy, right?
Yeah.
I think last week.
He's a nice guy.
Yeah.
I'm not going to use like what I said before was okay, the lottery and this and that, and talk about it.
Sure.
Forget about that for a second. Let's talk about the problem with infinite regress. Because I didn't mention that to him. I'll mention it to you now.
Infinite regression?
Yeah. So if you say that the universe was random generation, before the universe, therefore, there must have been a series of things that existed before the universe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Or let's just say it was one thing.
Okay.
Where does it start? It has to start with one thing. You accepted that when we talked about the infinite regress.
Mm-hmm.
So if we start that one thing, now we've got an entity that has a beginning that had an infinite reality in terms of.
It did not have a beginning. Sorry, they didn't have a beginning.
Sorry, the first.
Okay.
Sure. So from that angle, the atheist is unfortunately unable to solve this philosophical quandary of.
Because we haven't scientifically developed that much yet.
It's not a scientific matter; it's a philosophical matter. It comes out of it goes above and beyond science and into philosophy. You see where I'm coming from?
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from, but then again, it's a circular argument. I mean, you have to stay within the argument in order for the argument
what
to be
I'm saying is that if we say that it was randomly generated, it's the same randomly generated by whom, first of all, or by what?
It doesn't. Let us say that. Okay, let us be Hindus just for a second. Okay. Let us be Hindus and believe that.
I don't accept this.
We do not. Okay, neither I nor you believe in Krishna, Hare Krishna, or anything. But okay, no disrespect to Hindus in any way. But let us say that there is a reincarnating cycle. Let us just say, for argument's sake, let us say that before the universe, there was another universe. Let us say that it expanded infinitely, or not infinitely, that's the wrong word, up to a point, then started contracting. And then collapsed on itself. Sorry? Yeah, like a balloon, exactly. And then you stop breathing into it, and then it goes out, and then you breathe into it again. Okay. Well, no, that's an incorrect analogy, because then someone would have to be blowing and sucking.
Okay, like a balloon.
Let us say, okay, that the universe has existed infinitely, or there are many parallel universes that have existed. It's a valid argument. Parallel universe can be said to exist.
We believe in some of them.
Okay. But yeah, it expands, contracts, collapses on itself, then bangs again. Let us say, for argument's sake, that maybe that's valid. That argument. How
that is happening.
Okay, for argument's sake.
Okay, for argument's sake. That is happening. Okay.
Where did that come from?
I'm randomly thinking about it. Okay. It's just a random argument.
But I'm saying, where did that thing come from?
Where did that thing come from? Itself. Infinitely existing.
So did that thing have knowledge?
No, it didn't.
Okay, so how could it be so intelligent to know how to sufficient? How to
by random interactions?
How to keep it I think you know and I know that this is not going to.
No,
you don't believe this, do you?
I don't believe this. I don't. Because, I mean, it could happen. It could happen.
Yeah.
But for argument's sake, we are treating this as a possible explanation for the universe today.
In the Quran it says, قُلْ هَاتُوا بُرْهَانَكُمْ إِن كُنتُمْ صَادِقِينَ. Bring your evidences if you are truthful. For anything for us to consider it genuinely, we have to bring evidences.
Exactly, but I'm saying that the Quran is not enough in order for us to believe in a God.
We haven't talked about Quran.
You believe in evidence?
Not even religion.
You believe in evidence?
Yeah, we've been talking about it for like 5 minutes.
I don't know how long.
Can you not see what religions have done to the world?
Yes, they have done bad things, haven't they, my friend?
Yes.
Are you from Ireland?
Yeah.
I like him. My dad married an Irish woman at the beginning. I swear, I've got a half sister, she's half Irish, but I consider her like a full sister anyways.
Why can't you agree with it?
What?
Why can't you start concentrating on what you have in common between
I like how,
Christians?
Dublin's a very nice place and all Irish people.
Like that.
We'll talk about this later.
Why can't you concentrate on what you have in common instead of what you have?
Yes, you're right. We should be focusing on what we have in common. You're right. Because the Quran says that. تعالوا إلى كلمة سواء بيننا وبينكم. It comes to a common word between us and you. That's what the Quran says. So you're right about that. That's the companions that written about the Quran.
Didn't he think that the world was flat?
Let me discuss that, right? Now, if you look at the fatwa of Ahmed ibn Hanbal, who died in 241. He died when? 241.
After Hijrah?
or
after Hijab. So he was, between him and the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ wasn't that long. He was 1,200 years ago. Okay? He said...
So there was a generation gap between them. They didn't meet each other. 200.
No, he wasn't. Basically, the way it works now, quickly, is that we have 4 imams, yeah? 4 imams of fiqh.
Rightly guided.
No, not the rightly guided.
no, the Khalifs,
Not the Calibs.
The fifth one.
the madhabs.
Imam Malik, Shafi'i,
Maliki wa Shafi'i wal Hanbali wa Shafi'i.
Imam Ahmed bin Hanbal, etc. Abu Hanifa.
For sure.
Abu Hanifa was the oldest one. Then it was after that Imam Malik, and then after that was Imam Shafi'i, and the last one was Ahmed bin Hanbal. But he died 241.
Hanbali.
Yeah, Ahmed ibn Hanbal. Yeah.
Ibn Hanbal, yeah.
Okay, this person, he said in his fatwa, which can be traced to this day, that the earth is round. That the earth is round. Okay. And you might ask, okay, there was no, there's no reason for us to think that he was influenced by modern day science. Because if he's why would he be influenced by modern day science when there was no such thing as obviously 241?
And there was science at the time.
But modern day one, the one that we know today, where there's complete consensus in NASA and going and taking pictures, no way, yeah?
Okay.
He couldn't have been influenced by that. And the question is, how did he come to that conclusion and why? The reason, if you go to chapter number 36 of the Quran, Surah Yasin, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَآيَةٌ لَهُمُ الْأَرْضُ الْمَيْتَةُ أَحْيَيْنَاهَا. This is how it starts. And a sign for them is...
You can say it to me in Arabic, by the way.
Yeah, but just for the benefit of the others.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
And a sign for them is the earth, the dead earth, etc. And then, let's go from chapter 36, verse 33 to chapter 36, verse 40. Verse 40, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, والشمس تجري لمستقر لها ذلك تقدير العزيز عليه لا الشمس ينبغي لها أن تدرك القمر ولا الليل سابق النهار كل في فلك يسبحون. كل في فلك يسبحون in Arabic is translated as all of them are in a orbit with its own axis. Since the verse, the beginning of the siyaq or the context starts with the earth. وآية لهم الأرض الميتة الأرض الميتة أحييناها, and then it ends with the sun. It's very the scholars have seen, okay, so you have 3 things that are rotating now. One is the earth itself, rotation. 2 is the sun, and number 3 is the moon. That's what's mentioned in the verses, because it's ma'tufa, it's actually connected. Just everything is connected to each other.
Repeat the verse with the falak. Repeat the verse with the falak.
وكلهم في فلك يسبحون.
Okay.
وكلهم يعني Ibn Abbas. Now we talk about Ibn Abbas. Ibn Abbas says, as can be found in Ibn Jarir Tabari's tafsir. Yeah, he says that it's moving around, and he had like a disc in his hand, and he showed the circulation, so it's moving around, it's rotating. Yeah, that's 36 verse 14. That's one evidence, because you can't have a spinning flat earth.
Sure.
You can't. The second example is even more prominent than that. I believe it's conclusive, and that's why, by the way, Ibn Taymiyyah and Al-Juwayni and Ibn Hazm, they didn't stop by saying that the earth is round. They didn't just say that. They said, we have come to a consensus. You know, in Islam, there are 3 major masadir of the deen. There's the Quran, there's the Sunnah. You know what number 3 is? Ijma'.
Yeah.
So some scholars say that, okay, the consensus only happened at the time of the Sahaba.
Okay.
The majority of scholars, I would say that actually it happened after the time of the Sahaba as well. Ibn Taymiyyah, Ibn Hazm, and Al-Juwayni is saying these are 3 different scholars scattered in 2 different geographical locations. And by the way, in the case of Juwayni and Ibn Taymiyyah, they're from 2 different schools of thought. Sure. Ibn Taymiyyah is an Athari, or what we could consider nowadays Salafi, and Al-Juwayni is Ash'ari. So these are 2 different schools of thought. Not including this reality, they came to the same conclusion about the shape of the earth based on the text. Yeah, and they were very harsh and literal. Yeah, they weren't going to compromise for anybody. Yeah. And they said Ibn Taymiyyah, he quotes in Ijma' Kitab al-Arsh in Majmu'at al-Fatawa. Book of Fatawa, he says that it's Ijma', which means it's actually become part of the religion. Yeah. According to some, they accept the Ijma' or his Ijma' consensus, that it's like Quran Sunnah, you have to believe that the earth is round.
Okay.
So according to this, why? Why is it so severe? Because in Surah Zumar, chapter 39, verse number 5, what does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say? He says يكور الليل على النهار ويكور النهار على الليل وسخر الشمس والقمر كل يجري لأجل مسمى. It says Allah, He rolls the day into the night and He rolls the night into the day.
Sure.
Okay, now you might think this is.
But can you also bring up Ayn al-Hami'ah?
I'll say that.
Okay.
But let's do with one. He rolls the night into the day. Now it's impossible. It's actually physically impossible. For there, nobody can say it's possible. For there to be a flat Earth, yet the day rolls into the night and the night rolls into the day. It's impossible. Otherwise, if you just imagine now, you're living on a disc, yeah? Well, if you imagine if you live on a flat Earth. If this verse would be true, the following would have to be true. You live on the flat disc of the Earth. You would have to be seeing literally the rolling of the day and the night. We don't see that. We see it go from night into day into day into night. It's not. You can't have rolling. Mukawwir means it's continuously happening. So the scholars say that must mean the shape of the Earth itself is round.
But what if we were geocentric rather than heliocentric?
No, that's another discussion. That isn't that. Fair enough. That's a different discussion.
What if like the sun and the moon revolved around the Earth?
No. But geocentricity doesn't imply that the Earth has to be flat.
No, I'm just saying for the sake of arguing that
even
the
if
Earth is
you
flat.
say that,
rolling,
it's fine. But even if you say it didn't say يكور الشمس على الأرض أو حولها. He didn't say that. He didn't say he rolls the sun around the Earth.
Okay.
He says يكور الليل على النهار. يكور النهار على الليل. So it's the layl and the har. It's not the shams.
Yeah.
Because if you said if geocentricity, the shams is moving around.
Sure.
But if it's layl and the har, it's impossible for the shams to move around. So you see, this whole shubha of the earth being.
It's not denying it entirely, but
yes. So what we say is that obviously the nusus Shariah, which are the Quran, the Sunnah and stuff like that. If the early scholars, as I've mentioned to you, I've mentioned 3 or 4 different fatawa, are saying to you very clearly that it's actually it couldn't be the case that the earth is flat. These are ijma'. Ijma' means consensus. Sure. Then it's impossible. The muddy spring. No scholar of exegesis, mufassir, no mufassir I've not seen one tafsir I've not seen one formidable tafsir generally anyone who said that the sun actually goes into the spring like that. No one says that.
Then they all treat it as a metaphor.
It's nisbi. It's not nisbi. So it depends. Like I am walking right now, and I can say, look, the sun went into the sea. I saw the sun walking. It's sunset. The word sunset itself is, if you take it very literally, it's illogical. It's illogical. The sun doesn't set.
It doesn't set, yeah.
So the point is, this is.
Well, then Maghrib doesn't make sense.
Yeah, exactly. Because there's 2 things. Yeah. In Arabic language, in Lugha Arabiya, there's 2 things. When you talk about for example, you say Maghrib. This is Dharf Makan or Dharf Zaman. 2 things at one time. It's a time and place. If I say it's Maghrib, no one's going to say, oh, the sun is going into. No, Maghrib is talking about a time or a place.
Yeah.
So when we say that Dhul Qarnayn went into the west coast, further east coast of the land, it just means he went very east or west coast.
But he saw with his own eyes.
He saw the sun.
He saw it setting in
the mud
to the muddy spring.
Of course. You saw that. Yeah. You would see that. I'm seeing the sun right now. It's almost.
You don't see it set into a muddy spring. You just see it set.
No, you can see.
But the Quran states.
Have you not seen the sun set into the
not into a muddy spring?
Ocean?
Into the ocean.
Yeah, sure. No. It doesn't. Yeah. Okay. From my.
It doesn't go into the ocean.
Yes.
It looks like it.
It says wajadaha.
Wajadaha. Exactly. That's the exact word.
Okay. Wajadaha means he saw it.
So he found it. He found it. He didn't see it. He found it.
It's nisbi. Everything is nisbi. It's nisbi means it's relative. Okay. It's not saying that the sun actually went there. فغربت. It didn't say like that. It says وجدها تغرب. Yeah,
so he found it setting into a muddy spring.
So it's all nisbi.
We're arguing semantics now.
No, it's very important.
Yeah, I know.
So, because if you say that, okay, there's lots of verses in the Quran that would not make sense.
Yeah.
If you say that it has to be like that, if you take the Quran like in that kind of way, where the new 21st century, like in the semantics, you take it love like that. Yeah. But when it says
Quran, you have to.
No, you don't. Huh? واسأل القرية. واسأل القرية. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says to Yusuf, ask the town. Okay, ask the town. We're going to go to the town now. Hello, how are you doing? No, it's ask the people of the town. Yeah, it's mahdoof. It's thrown away. Okay. Same thing with if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran about the what do you call it? The parents. Lower your wing of mercy. Well, I don't have a wing. I have no wing. So if you take things like that, the Quran's not going to make sense to you.
Okay.
And this is, there is an old age discussion called al-haqiqa wal-majaz. Al-haqiqa is like, something which is literal, and majaz is metaphoric. The point is, I'm not even saying this is metaphoric, I'm just saying it's nisbi. I'm saying this is, he saw it go under the thing.
وجدها.
Wajada, he saw it.
Yeah.
Here, wajada. How can you say that he didn't?
Yeah.
It's definitely, that's what he saw, that's his perspective.
Yeah.
The Quran never says, subhanAllah, if you want to know about the Shams, go to Surah Al-Shams.
Surah Al-Shams, yeah, okay.
Chapter number 91, verses of the Quran. Verses number 1 to 3 or 4. What does it say? How do you say الشمس وضحاها والقمر إذا تلاها. Wallahi, I think there's an amazing way Allah speaks.
No, I think the Quran is a beautiful piece
Let me
of
tell you something.
beautiful text.
I'm telling you something. والشمس وضحاها.
Yeah.
By the sun and its rays, or its light that it projects.
Correct.
والقمر إذا تلاها. And the moon as it follows the sun. Now, if you want to interpret this, you can interpret this in 2 or 3 different ways, all of which make perfect sense. The first way is that you have the sun first in the daytime, and then you have the moon. You see it afterwards. I see the moon afterwards. Yeah. So I see the moon first, the sun first, then I see the moon. Okay, you can interpret it another way. Even if you say, okay, no, we have to do science. Fine. Science, the sun is moving and the moon is following it. It's talah, is what's happening. Sure. But then what does it say? When the hari إذا جلاها, and by the day and as it projects, this is amazing. As the day, by the day and when it projects the Jallaha, it's basically the sun. It does not say what? As the sun goes round the earth to project the thing.
Of course not, yeah.
So it's incredibly delicate. What it says is, when the hari إذا جلاها, and by the day as it projects the sun's rays, or the light of the sun. So it's the day's responsibility to project what? The rays of the light. It's not the sun's responsibility to project the light on the day. That shows you that the Quran here you could say, is very delicate not to make it seem like the sun is doing all the work. There is another functionality going on. You can argue if you want to. I'm not saying it is necessarily the case. Okay. You can say it's revolutionary if you want to. I'm not superimposing that. You can if you want to. That is causing the day to occur. When the hari والليل إذا يغشاها, and by the night as it fears it goes away. So it goes away. So the night is the one moving away from the sun. The night is the one moving away from the sun. It's not the sun that's moving away from the night. Imagine this. The night is the one moving away from the sun. And it's not the sun that's moving away from the night.
But you can argue the other way around.
No, it says وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا يَغْشَاهَا.
Yeah.
It's the night that's moving away. Scared of it. So if the night is the one that's moving away, well, if the Quran assumes, as some people may try to say, this geocentricity, if it's definitely, we have to believe in geocentricity, we have to believe in these things that the sun went into the water, the muddy spring. Why is it saying that it's actually the night that's moving away from the sun? That's correct.
But it's subjective.
Even if you want to take it from a 21st century, even if you want to take it from a 21st century perspective, the night literally moves away from the sun. How? Because the night is created by the revolution of the earth. What a beautiful way everyone understands it.
But it's subjective though. Like you can argue that the night, the day is running away from the night.
No, but the Quran says the night is running away from the sun.
No. If you disregard the Quran for just a second, you could argue either one, because day depends on night and night depends on day.
No, what I'm saying is that the Quran is not saying that the sun is the one that's causing. It's the one that's responsible for the day and the night. It's not leaving it as that. It's saying that the night and the day are working in contradistinction to the sun. So in other words, the day and the night are being formed by something other than the sun.
Sure.
How do we know that? Because it says وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا يَغْشَاهَا. Then it's the layl is the one is the action here. Is the fa'il. The layl is we're doing something.
Yeah.
It's not the sun that's doing it. Okay. It's the layl that's moving away from it. It's scared of it.
Okay.
So that means to say that there's some other functionality.
It doesn't directly imply the fact that the earth is
I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is that it could have easily, the Quran could have easily said as the sun goes around the earth. Full stop. No one can say anything. Yeah. No one can say that. No one in history today can make the claim, if the Quran had been so blunt, that there's such a thing as heliocentric, and if you had said that, you'd be a kafir, you'd be a disbeliever.
Sure.
But no scholar in history could ever say that. Someone say, okay, it's geocentricity. There's lots of scholars in Islam that said geocentricity, even today in this world.
Yeah, even today, yeah.
Yes.
You can go to Saudi and you can see many of them.
There's 2 of them I know, personally that said that. But they can never say, they'll never be able to say that this is 100%. And that if you don't believe in this, you're kafir. Why? Because it's يحتمل تأويل. There's lots of ta'wil that can be put into this, yeah? Which means interpretation. So in other words, the Quran by no means or stretch of the imagination, according to all of the scholars, especially in the modern day, even those Saudi scholars that you talk about, Ibn Baz and
Abdullah bin Baz
and Fawzan, etc., even they say the earth is round.
Yeah.
Even they say that.
Yeah, for sure.
So I'm saying, despite them believing in geocentricity, Ibn Baz, I don't say fatwa, but Ibn Uthaymeen, he believes in geocentricity. But despite that, he doesn't say the earth is not round. You know what I mean? So from those angles, we say that it's, for us to suggest that the depiction, the correct depiction, is one where it says that the earth is like a flat disc and the sun is going into the mud. That would be a stretch itself, because actually the scholars of Islam that came before the scientific era were saying no, the earth is round and it goes, even subhanAllah, Ibn Taymiyyah in the same fatwa, he says that the universe is round. Did you know he said that? It's mad that the universe is round. The universe. Not even the earth is just round, he said the universe is round.
Okay.
So the point is, like, if we're being complete, because we are awam, yeah, so we're not proficient scholars that we can, we do nothing. We basically get what the scholars say, and they have no reason to be influenced by science, especially 241 after the Prophet's death. So that's why we say that it makes perfect sense for us to believe into the depiction, so we can walk around comfortably. You know those images that you see, you know, there's NASA images and stuff like that. We have no issue with that. That doesn't contradict our faith, basically. Okay. The earth, and you know what I'm saying, around it is stars, and the sun is the big thing, and the earth is going around. Everything that heliocentricity, that doesn't contradict that. We don't have to get rid of that. We don't have to, in order to be a Muslim, you don't have to disbelieve in that.
Then why did Ya'juj and Ma'juj not come out from the other side?
No, it's not saying it's not the.
No, I'm just saying. Then why aren't Ya'juj and Ma'juj all over now?
What?
Why have they not escaped the?
They're just two tribes that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has
Barricaded, they're barricaded. So they say inshallah.
But they built one wall.
Yeah, so what? It's a wall, yes, but they could be functioning within that. There could be a community within that wall, happening somehow. They're eating, drinking, having intercourse, and having kids and everything.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not suggesting because there's a wall there's no life going on behind it.
Yeah, I know.
Allah.
Yeah, so this is something we can't really comment on, but we're saying that this is something Allah, because He's ala kulli shay'in qadir, He made happen.
Okay.
And there's no contradiction between that and the shape of the earth or anything like that. And it doesn't say in the Quran that they were on the edge of the earth. It doesn't say that. And it could have said that.
Yeah.
You know, in the Bible it says that.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the Bible it says aqas al-ard al-arba'a.
Yeah.
In
four corners of the earth.
Four corners of the earth. In A'mal al-Anbiya.
Right.
Acts chapter number 10 verse number 11. Aqas al-ard al-arba'a. The Quran doesn't say aqas al-ard al-arba'a. How comes the Prophet, he knew not to say such a thing? You see, so actually this can be used as an evidence, not as something we have to defend ourselves from. You know what I mean? From that angle, I say that if you got anything else, so you talked about these things, which by the way they're very, very popular on the internet.
Yeah, sure.
I'm happy that I had the chance to talk to you about it, because not only maybe someone else is feeling like in doubt.
Yeah, for sure.
What else?
On that note, I really have to end. I'm really sorry, but
Akhi, take his number.